cringy. Yeah, so it's my birthday today, for those of you who didn't know. I'm 19. The other day I found this questionnaire on Reddit, and I thought it'd be interesting to answer these questions. It's on Mystery Dungeons, so it's kind of, you know, fits the theme of the channel. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into this video. Oh, I feel like a real YouTuber now. What is this? Alright, so question 1 is, which was the first Explorers game you played, and how did you learn about it? So the first Explorers game I played was actually Sky, and I found it when I was 9, or maybe 10, I don't actually remember, one of the two. And I don't remember exactly how I found out about it, but I remember going to Game, which is, I guess, the English equivalent of GameStop, and it was just there. I was like, hey Dad, do you mind if I get this? So I did. It was a fantastic experience and I've never forgotten it. Yeah. I guess that's all I can really say about that question. So question 2 is, what was your first hero and partner combo that you used to beat the game? Well, this is an interesting question because I actually got a second-hand copy. So the very first partner Pokemon combination I had was actually Riolu and Phanpy. Technically, because that was left over from the previous person who owned the game, but they only ever got to Mount Bristle, and so I kind of spoiled that a little bit for myself before I then decided to go back and do it myself. So the first Pokemon combination I actually used to finish the game was Charmander and Pikachu, which was just my name, and then I called my partner Pikachu because I can't name things, as you can probably tell by everything I've ever named so far. Yeah, that's all I can say about that. Question 3, what's your fondest memory of playing the game? Oh, I don't really know. I guess when I finally beat Dialga, that was a pretty big moment because 10-year-old me wasn't good at anything. Finally beating him after like 20 tries and having to constantly go through the dungeon over and over again was actually quite a big moment for me, but I guess it's a big moment for everyone. I guess the other memory of playing the game was probably beating Dusknoir because he was so hard. I remember struggling with him so much because fighting that many enemies at once was something I couldn't do at 10 years old. So, yeah, I guess beating those were probably my fondest memory of playing the game. I remember tearing up a bit as well at Fogbound Lake, vaguely. I probably did that. So, I guess those were some of the fondest memories of playing the game. So, question 4 is, who is your favourite character? Now, I know a lot of people probably say Grovar for this one, and I don't really blame them, but actually I'd say Dusknoir is my favourite character. I can justify this. So, spoilers by the way. Dusknoir was an interesting character for me because, like, looking back on it, it's like, was he wrong? Because it seemed like everyone else in the future was on board with the whole plan to kill themselves essentially for saving the world, but Dusknoir wasn't having any of that, and I think it's quite interesting because his position on the whole self-preservation thing, it's like he's not necessarily wrong in his thinking, I don't think anyway. I mean, morally yes, but as a person I don't think he's necessarily incorrect. I think he's a misunderstood character for that, and a lot of people would paint him as an evil creature, and I think the game would have you believe that he was evil as well, but I don't actually think that he was necessarily evil. I think he was the most human character actually, because of this. As a player, like looking on the story from the comfort of your own home, I guess you can say that hey, Dusknoir isn't right to say that he shouldn't sacrifice himself for the world, but who's to say that he should sacrifice himself for the world? Is that necessarily wrong for him to object to that? I think that's why I think he's my favourite character, because he had the balls to go against everyone and to display the most humanity out of probably every character, even if it's not necessarily what you'd consider the morally justified point of view. There you go. What is your favourite song? I don't know. I don't think I have a favourite song, to be honest. They're all fantastic apart from Applewoods, which is objectively the worst song in the game, and anyone who believes it is good is just wrong. But I don't know. I don't want to be like really meta and say Time Year, because although it's a fantastic piece, it's like it's everyone's favourite at this point. I guess probably like the future tracks, I guess, like, I don't know, Vast Ice Mountain Peak is a pretty good one, and Vast Ice Mountain in general, I guess. An underrated track, I guess, would be Mystifying Forest, because I really like that one. Apologies for the cars outside, by the way. Yeah, Mystifying Forest is probably up there, weirdly. Even though it's such a nice piece, like, it's kind of simple, but it's complicated at the same time, and I quite like it. So I guess that's one of the underrated ones I enjoy. But I mean, I guess I kind of enjoy every track apart from Applewoods. So I don't think I can say definitively that I have a favourite song. Question 6. What's your favourite dungeon? My favourite dungeon? Hold on, where's that music coming from? Oh,
smoke weed every day. Y'all got good busy and I love the trees. Smoke so much weed you wouldn't believe. And I get more ass than a toilet seat. To the one, from the 1 to the 3. I'm in a bad bitch last night. Let me tell you how I'm gonna do. Conversation and ENC. I've been to the motherfucking mountaintop. I heard motherfuckers talk, sleep, drop. If I ain't got a weapon, I'ma pick up a rock. And when I bust your ass, I'm gonna continue to rock. Get your ass on the wall with your 2 left feet. It's real easy, just follow the beat. Don't let that mind girl crash you by. Look real close, cause strobe lights wanna have a party. Turn the music, let's get it started.
Question 7. Was there a part of the story that really irked you? Irked you? Is that a word? I guess the part of the story that kind of annoyed me was when Grovile goes into the portal and tells the player if he does fix the planet's paralysis, then he will disappear. And then both of them keep it a secret from the partner. I think that was kind of an annoying moment for me in the game, because like this partner Pokemon trusted you with basically everything. And I think it's quite sad that you wouldn't trust them to stick with you despite them knowing this information. I think it's quite sad that the player and Grovile feel that they can't tell the partner in case that they'll go back on saving the world. I don't know, because I'm not quite sure on whether they would be necessarily justified in saying the partner would rather have the player than the world. I'm not sure. I mean, I can understand why they chose not to, but it still annoyed me that they did it. If that makes sense. Okay, question 8. What would you say is the best part of the game? Best part of the game? Is there a best part of the game? I don't think there is. There's no best part of the game. It's all great. It's all great. All of it. Question 11. Question 9. What is your favourite boss battle? I don't know. I feel like the Dusknoir fight was kind of cool. Like it's like the first time you have to take on so many enemies at once. And also I feel like it was... I mean, part of me is like, okay, that's another part of the story that kind of annoyed me, was the fact that they said, Lapras says only you and the player, only you and the partner, and Grovile can go to the hidden land, but then suddenly Dusknoir shows up like 6 Sableye and just ambushes you out of nowhere, and it's like, well, that doesn't make sense. But the fight itself was kind of great, because so many enemies at once, and although it was really hard and 10-year-old me couldn't do it, I think it was a cool concept and a cool idea. They kind of ruined again with the Dark Rock fight. That didn't really make sense to me as to why there was suddenly all these Pokemon there that didn't need to be there. So yeah, I'd say the Dusknoir fight will be my favourite. Question 10. What's your least favourite song in the game? Applewoods. Applewoods, without a doubt. Applewoods. Nothing more needs to be said about that. It's just really bad. I don't like it. It's like the one song in the game I will say I actually dislike. But Applewoods, yes. Question 11. What's your favourite guild rule? See, I had to look up all the guild rules because I don't actually remember them all, but I'd still say that number 3, Smiles Go for Miles, is my favourite rule. Question 11. Again. If you could choose to force yourself into an exploration team, whose team would you join? Team Charm. Question 12. What's your favourite special episode in Sky? Episode 5, obviously, is just objectively the best one. But I'd say all of them really were kind of good, except for Sunflora's one. I didn't really like Sunflora's one. It didn't make a lot of sense, and it seemed a little bit pointless, really. Question 13. What would you say is the saddest part of the Explorers games? The saddest part? See, the saddest part would technically be when the player disappears. But I'd say the saddest part, really, like from a human perspective, would be when the player and Grovile don't tell the partner about him disappearing. It's just sad that they felt they couldn't trust the partner with that information, and that they waited until it was actually happening before he explained that it was going to happen. And it saddened me that the partner took it so well. Like, yeah, considering you'd essentially lied to your partner about not disappearing, it kind of saddened me that there was no comment on that you'd waited so long to tell them that you were going to disappear, and the partner was just like, oh yeah, that's sad, oh no, you're disappearing, ah, that's sad. Explain. Question 14. What did you struggle with the most when you were younger, playing Explorers? What did I struggle with the most? I mean, technically I struggled the most with the Zero Isles, because they were hard. I still haven't completed South to this day. Yeah, I'd say those were pretty difficult. I mean, story-wise, I guess, the Duskmoth fight again. I mean, just about every boss fight ever was hard. The Darkrai fight was probably the hardest thing for me. I probably struggled with that the most, but that was mostly Cressilia's fault. I remember the first time I played the game, I ended up getting all the way to level 100 in Dark Praetor before I actually completed it. Question 15. If Explorers received a remake, what would you want changed about it? Absolutely nothing. It's a perfect game. Don't you dare remake it. Disgust me. How dare this question exist? Why? Right, so that's the end of the questionnaire. I don't know, there were some interesting questions on that. I thought were quite cool. Ones that probably you might want answered. So maybe that's given you some things to think about. And maybe that's explained my experience with the Mystery Dungeon. I don't know. If you want to take the quiz for yourself, go ahead. It'd be cool to see your responses as well. So put them in the comments. I feel like a real YouTuber now. Oh, kill me now. So yeah, I guess that's the end of this video, and yeah, I'll see you around. Side note, by the way, the next part of the Explorers medley is coming. It's just, I've been procrastinating for a long time, and then the last few days I've been struggling with getting assignments in, so I've been struggling with getting assignments in for college, so I've had to take a break again for a bit, so I'm up to Quicksand Cave at the moment. I'm planning to get to Crystal Crossing, so I don't know, you'll probably see it eventually, but I don't know. It's still in the works, but I haven't forgotten about it, don't worry.